morning, UPBOptionMillionaires.com. Welcome to Thursday, April 2nd, 2015. It is not April Fool's anymore, thank goodness. But tomorrow is Good Friday. In observance of that, the market is closed. So consider today your Friday, which is great. Tomorrow is indeed a Good Friday. Take a break, get some rest, relax, spend time with the family. Look at S&P 500 futures down again. Last week, we started with 4 consecutive down days on Friday. We finally eked out a gain. This week, we had a massive move up. And let me just tell you real quick, the trend remains to the upside. Do I have to say this again? Since the lows of March 2009. Look at this trend. So you can fight it all you want. You can talk about a market crash. And we've had pullbacks along the way. But the money has been made trading for stocks to go higher. And until that changes, that's the way you got to trade it. Of course, when you get a market that looks like it's possibly going to roll over a little bit, we have this looming pattern forming. You might want to lighten up on the long positions. Let's see if support holds here on S&P 500 futures at 2040 level. But if you look from a longer-term price perspective, I still like this market to the upside. And you draw a trend line across that 2040 level is going to act as support. So if we get a pullback, be 9 points here on S&P 500 futures, we're certainly going to see strong support at that 2040 level, which also coincides with a couple points here going back horizontally. Something that's also a little worrisome is the U.S. dollar index, and the Federal Reserve had their meeting when the U.S. dollar was at 12-plus year high, and somehow they were able to talk it down. So to me, this is good news, although we've been seeing stocks and the U.S. dollar fall in unison, hand in hand. But we're seeing the U.S. dollar again fall this morning, down 0.6%. My goodness. We're going to find support at about the 95.50 level, and I think a weaker U.S. dollar is going to take some of those fears about corporate earnings that overseas, our products are just not so competitive with this. It's so strong, this dollar. Dollar, you're so strong. And that will affect, the price of our goods. The affordability of it overseas when we export it. Export it. Let's go into the bond market. James Bond, TLT, 20-year bond, Treasury ETF is a great proxy for what the bond market is up to. It was up big yesterday, catching a bid because overseas, again, all that growth going on. I'm just being sarcastic. The central banks over there have negative interest rate policy. Here we have 0% interest rate policy. So it's the less dirty shirt, as they say. In the U.S., we have the full faith of the central banks, yes, the federal government as well, that we're going to repay our debts, which makes the modest interest rate, what are they yielding, about 0.00001% here in the U.S., but certainly better than what they have overseas, and we have yet to default on our debt, which makes the bonds here pretty attractive. But what I would say is, look at the yields on some of the Dow Jones Industrial Average components, such as Verizon. Used to be AT&T, they're gone. See ya. Boeing, look at Boeing, and I brought up a chart of Boeing. Let's go to Boeing real quick. Well, before we do that, look at Tesla. Sitting right at support. That April Fool's hoax came out, saw a brief spike at the end of the day. So let's look at Boeing. The Boeing chart looks so bullish to me. Let's see, and it's great about the Thinkorswim platform here. Sometimes you don't have the lines to go all the way across. Just extend them. A lot of times I'll forget about a stock. I won't trade it for a while. I'll come back and the lines will be like back here. But then when I extend them, they come perfectly together. It's almost like a wonderful soup. Let's look at a short-term pattern. I don't know how that line got in. So, sometimes they just play tricks on you. Throw a line in there that you didn't put. Make you go crazy. But if you look, I think Boeing, see that? Extend this line. Extend me. Came pretty close to hitting support. But I think it's going to break out to new record highs here for Boeing. Offers a nice dividend. It was analyst out talking about the stock, 175 target. Amazing enough, when this is at 90, they're talking 105. They just keep upping it and upping it. And if you look, how many years was it in this pattern here for Boeing? But broke out to the upside. I'd see a similar type move. See this spike? We're going to get something similar to that. Home Depot's been pulling back. Now, they talk via Barron's on Saturday. They're talking about the buybacks, and I'm a big proponent of the buybacks, helping to lift the stock market. If you look, Home Depot again is at support. Remember last Friday I got into the call contracts on the Thursday before. We were right to close the gap from the earnings report, and it worked out perfectly. Look at that spike we had on Friday. So we've pulled back 3 straight days, just like the SP5. Well, actually on Monday we were up. We had a nice sell-off. Look at that big wick at the top. But Home Depot's been pulling back, now back at support. The 1250 level will act as support, the springboard for a possible move up. We'll see if we can hold this level here. If we can't, we're looking at about 105 on Home Depot. There's something to keep in mind. How about Apple? I know he was bringing up Apple for a while. It's in a bullish move. The trend is to the upside. Until that breaks, the stock prices will continue to rise for Apple. And if you look from the lows of May of 2013, these bullish consolidation patterns, bull flags, wedges, pennants, continue to lead Apple to new record highs, and I think that's what's going to happen. Something to keep an eye on. Speaking of record highs, Google, I talked about hitting record highs now or later, meaning in the next couple weeks, a month, or later, meaning it's towards the end of the year. And I think we're headed towards the end of the year as it stands now. Google is at this key 550 level, support resistance line. If we break below it, any kind of vigor, we're going to head down to 490, then go up and make our record highs. But I would not take any position in Google just yet until it makes up your mind. Let's look at the bond market. Bond market again here. TLT just in a different time frame. You can see possibly breaking out. We'll see if we get to double top. That'll be something to watch. Let's look at Solar City, which is bumping along this 4750 level. And breaking above 50 is key for this stock because you look recently the last month or so, just hanging at this 50 level, just can't break it. It tries to go up, comes back to it. It's like a magnet. But if we can get above it, I think 60 is coming for Solar City. How about DDD? Remains at support. Look at this, another magnet on support. This trend line, it's like kissing it and just won't let go. Come on, you can let go of it, baby. I think it's going to head back up to $35 for DDD. SSYS was at a similar support level, broke through it, my goodness. But if you look, the spike down it had back in February on its pre-announcement, I forget what the news was, but it was negative. Or at least that's what the market thought. But again, we were back to those levels again briefly this week before we bounced. We're putting in possibly a double bottom. Are we going to move back up to the support line about $55 this morning before the bell? It's about 15 minutes before the opening bell, so I'm going to have to end this video. But it looks like it's going to open flat. S&P 500 is flat to start the trading day. Let's pull in a little closer. Was down over 0.2%. What is it down now? 0.11%. We're maintaining short-term trend line support here. If you draw a trend line across. Longer term is at the 2040 level. We can bring a trend line all the way across and also another one across. 2040 is the level to watch here on S&P 500 futures. The VIX, again, the VIX. Seemingly every day gets beaten down. The VIX is yawning. It is yawning. It's something to watch. And also, look at the late day beat down. Also something to watch is the IWM, the small caps. You know, back in April of 2014, the small caps were falling. Oh my goodness. Small caps pulled back. Actually didn't find a bottom until the middle of May. Okay, we started a pullback in March. Really started to decline in April. Look at some of the wicks to the downside. Everybody was talking about this as the canary in the coal mine. You know, they put the canary in. If the canary dies, then everybody else is going to get sick. Just like the market. It would be a precursor to market correction. So if we see small caps not falling here in spite of the weakness in the market, what is that telling you? What is the opposite of a canary in the coal mine? Is it a diamond in the rough? But if you look, small caps to me are telling you that money's just getting rotated and that eventually it's going to get back into the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. They're just putting their money into small caps to protect their investment, if that makes any sense at all. All right, UPB here. It is about 10 minutes before the opening bell. I got to get moving here. See in the chat room at Option Millionaires. You can listen to my wonderful commentary. And JB as well, Mikey, Retired MM, and Lee Malone. Everyone have a great holiday weekend, a great trading week, and I'll see you in the chat room. Take care. Goodbye.